state. And it's what happens just before they say, "Gentlemen, start your engines," and it's a place of honor in the opening ceremony. So I was very, very excited to do it.
Now, before you sang for the first time a couple of years ago, had you been to the Indianapolis 500? Now, you said you have some Indiana ties, but
Right. So I had only been to time trials when I was in grad school, and that was a lot of fun. And then after I left grad school, we used my in-laws' home kind of as a home base for 2 years before I landed in Chicago, and also at holidays. I just remember the sound. They were up on around 53rd and Kessler, and you could hear the track, just the buzz, for those hours, or even during the week, right? You hear those cars because it's just this reverberation in the air that really gets your skin up, and an exciting time of year.
You're no stranger to perform in front of large groups of fans at Blackhawks games, but when you are, step up to sing in front of more than 200,000 people on that day in May, what goes through your head? What is that experience and those emotions like?
Wow, that's a lot of there's a lot in that question. So you can never take it for granted getting up in front of that many people, and also with a song that's that special. It's not like you're just getting up and singing a pop tune or something. You're singing something that really is a song of the fans, and so you want to approach it with as much respect as you can. So for me, that means preparation, and taking care of myself to get a good night's sleep, make sure I'm in voice, make sure I'm focused, all those things beforehand. But also, like the first time I did it, I had all the words memorized easily a month before I ever went out there to do it, because I just knew memorizing the words and knowing the music is just the first step of wanting to be able to bring something to the experience and bring something to the fans. So I had to develop sort of a inner dialogue that would go with the song as well. So I'm running words in my head. I've warmed up. I've taken care of myself, and I'm just thinking about what it is that I want to try to project or communicate in terms of an affect, a feeling for the fans. You want to bring something of yourself to the experience, right? So all this kind of there's different techniques, and also just dialogues I have inside myself that I want to try to bring with me.
Until we get to that August 23rd moment, you want to share a little bit of that song to give us just a little bit of that taste of what we're used to on the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend.
All right, so it's an 8 a.m. piece. Yeah, I could do that. All right. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, how I long for my Indiana home.
That's awesome.
Well, if that's not music to your ears, I don't know what is. Thank you, Jim Cornelison, for taking the time and singing a little bit of Back Home in Indiana for us. Also, IU graduate Jim Cornelison, and does the Blackhawks national anthems, which I've known him for years for doing that, not personally, just as a Blackhawks fan. So we do appreciate him taking his time during this pandemic to hop on with us. Up next, you ready for this one?
Yeah.
This is 2019 Indy 500 winner Simon Pagenaud. Nathan, you talked with him earlier this week, and here's what he had to say.
All right, now we are joined with Simon Pagenaud, Team Penske driver and defending Indy 500 champion. Simon, I imagine that when you were preparing for defending your title at IMS a couple months ago, that not having a race to prepare for and not being in a car these couple days leading up to May 24th certainly wasn't in your plans. Kind of take me through what this time is like for you right now.
Hey, Nathan. Yes, it's a bizarre time for sure. No question about that. But it is what it is at the end of the day. You just have to go with the flow. And, I must say, it's been amazing to see how IndyCars handle the whole situation. And there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We're going racing on June 6th in Texas. So I'm very, very excited about that. We just restarted simulator testing yesterday at our GM facility here in Huntersville. And obviously, lots of social distancing, which is very different than what we all used to. But with all the precaution we took and we're taking, it seems very safe. So I'm excited to actually be thinking about racing, thinking about the next race. It certainly is a bit strange that we didn't get to qualify in Indianapolis on May 18, which was my birthday when I got the pole position last year. And then at the end of the week, usually we're racing in Indy. So it is very strange. But fortunately, we've been able to film a really cool piece that's going to be on NBC Sports Network this weekend on Sunday. And I can't wait to see it because memories should be pretty emotional.
Heard that, or at least I was told that might be the first time that you and Rossi have really talked together much about that race. What was, when you guys were filming that piece that we'll see here later on Sunday afternoon, what was that experience like for you guys, trying to relive some of those moments? I know really positive for you, a letdown for him, but what was that experience like to come back to and relive and revisit with the person who you were fight alongside to the end?
It was actually, Rossi and I have really a really great relationship. First of all, we're teammates at Acura Team Penske as well. So we've got to learn each other and know a little bit better who he is. And he's a very interesting character. I really enjoy talking to him. He's very thorough. He's very similar to me, very technical, but we have a very different driving style. So we've had the chance to discuss the race. He said he didn't watch it. I did.
I can imagine.
But the thing is I think as a past winner for him, it's a bit of a different situation than it was for me. I was going to try to win at all costs in Indy last year. So I was ready to take all the risks necessary. He was in a very different seat, but it was really cool to hear what he had to say from his side and how he actually handled his first win and how he felt, as his rookie year. That was really interesting to hear. And I think that show is going to be, NBC Sports did a really great job with trying to give new information to the public. And I think it's going to be really cool. I personally learned a lot, and I thought it was a really nice interaction.
You've been now just about almost exactly 12 months been the defending Indy 500 champion. What will it be like for you to, be able to claim that for 3 more months? I know once we get racing again, the calendar is just going to be fast and furious. And I know you've had a chance to relish in everything that being a 500 champ, the defending 500 champ involves this off season. We'll see the 500 now, ideally about 2/3 of the way into the schedule. What will preparing for a 500 being the defending champion kind of towards the latter end of the schedule be like for you in your eyes?
It's certainly going to be very different. It's also going to be in August with a different car because we have the Aeroscreen, which is a really, really nice addition to the cars. On the look side of things, for me personally, I think it's really futuristic and exciting. And safety is going to be massively better. So for all these reasons, it's exciting. We have a 2020. The moment that it starts, it should be a lot of new headlines and new drivers as well coming in. So a lot of unknown at the moment. Very exciting season. It was about to be a very exciting season. It still is, and that's great. But certainly, it doesn't change anything for me that it's in August or in May, quite frankly. Obviously, we love traditions. We love the fact that it can be in May. But as a racer, I'm just going in and I'm going to do the best I can to try to relive the dream for another year. That's really what I want to do. But it will be much harder. So it's going to be a lot more slick, a lot more slippery, I should say. And we're going to have to work on the cars in a very short amount of time. So lots of unknown, but it's going to, I think, bring a really interesting race, maybe even more exciting than usual.
All right. Well, thank you, Simon Pagenaud, for that. A little disappointed Norman the dog didn't make an appearance, but I digress. We're going to take a quick break right here. And by the way, you can check more of Simon Pagenaud on NBC at 2 o'clock as they re-air last year's race with some special interviews during it. So it's back home again, the 500 back home again on NBC at 2 o'clock. But we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Roger Penske. Welcome back to IndyStar's Pit Pass Live Special Edition. He is Nathan Brown. I am Mac Linesk. So now it's Roger Penske's turn. This is not how he envisioned his first Indianapolis 500 weekend to go as the owner of IndyCar and IMS, but here we are. So here's Nathan's conversation with Roger Penske.
Here we are with Roger Penske, owner of the IndyCar Series and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, along with several other entities of his Penske Corporation. Roger, thanks so much for joining us today. We're about 6 months out from the initial announcement when you guys announced the purchase and creation of Penske Entertainment Corp, adding the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to your portfolio. Looking ahead 6 months into the future, I imagine you couldn't probably have pictured a May planning out like it has this year.
Well, Nathan, obviously, when we made that commitment really back, I guess September, October time with Mark Miles, and we expedited, the signing of the agreement and closing on January 6th. It was all about the future and all about having the best Indianapolis 500 ever coming up here in a couple of days. So something that this pandemic obviously has crippled the world in many cases, and certainly the focus, even though it's been the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the race, it's been about our people around the world that work for us and our fans and guests. But certainly a different feeling to be able to go out to the Speedway on Sunday and be there and not have any cars going around the track.
It's been about 2 months since you guys rescheduled the Indianapolis 500 for that date in August 23rd. I'm sure that wasn't a decision that you guys made lightly by any means, but the ability with your guys' calendar with the series to be able to move such a monumental event that goes, months and months and months of planning, just the ability to be able to pull that off, be able to put that aside, let things hopefully settle down a little bit and get back to some semblance of normal. I imagine that was really helpful to be able to still feel confident that you guys can hold that major event here just a couple months down the calendar.
Well, I think we had to look out in the distance because, when you look back 6-8 weeks ago, the world was pretty bleak, and we felt the further we could get the date out and got it into the end of August was going to be a benefit. But as you know, we didn't know at that point what phase 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 was. And I think that as Marion County is moving into phase 3, I think we're certainly going in the right direction. But we were able to do that. It was a weekend. We had to look at were the Colts playing. Was there a football game at Notre Dame? There's lots of things that could be competitive to a race at Indianapolis because some of our valued fans are also football fans. But overall, it's something that we have to deal with. This isn't a purchase we made for 1 year or 2 years. It's a long-time commitment by our company and certainly our family.
Part of that commitment that we heard about back in February when we were 100 days out from the initial date for this year's Indy 500 were some of the renovations that you guys were already, well underway with putting together all around the grounds with new video boards, the really exciting board by the Pagoda bathroom renovation, some other infrastructure things. As those have come together, what are you most excited about for fans to see when we're eventually able to get back on the grounds at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
Well, I think as you walk up to gate 1 and you see what we've done there with the B lot out front there where we can have some key parking spots for our customers and guests. But guess what? When you think about Georgetown Road You know, this is a spot that over 130,000 people probably walk during race day and after the race. And what we've been able to do is widen that, almost double the width of that, with the support of the town and Speedway and the city and everyone else. We've been able to execute with some great contracts, I have to say. We've been under the gun with weather. Remember, we started this in the wintertime. I remember being out at the track many times. It was, 3 degrees, but that's a big one. Certainly trying to think about guest services, guest experiences. We've been able to take all of the restrooms on the outside of the track and some on the inside and really do a refurbishment of those, you know, adding LED lights and things that we think will bring them up to what I would call quality standards. Is something that we want to present to our fans. But along with many things inside, certainly lots of painting being done. I think we've used 300,000 gallons of paint, so it never stops. And to me, that's been a big one. But I think the thing that has really shown is the quality of the team at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and certainly Mark Miles and Doug Boles and Jay Fry. I mean, I've just been blown away with their commitment. This pandemic really, you know, hasn't changed their tune, hasn't changed the momentum. And I can tell you that we're doing everything we can to execute, and so many people are going the extra mile. But I think you're going to see a transformation. You know, we've been out there today and yesterday and the day before just looking at all sorts of combinations that we might have to activate based on what level we are.
Again, we thank the captain for taking the time, Roger Penske, for talking with Nathan, giving us at least 5 minutes of his time. Again, if you want full interviews, some of these have been condensed for time for the show, so go to IndyStar.com for the full video of all these interviews. And right now, Nathan, we are going to go to a special thing that we did with the fans. We asked you to vote for the 33 best Indy 500 drivers, and then we put it into our dream field. And if you got a copy of today's Sunday Indy Star, you will see the poster of the dream field. So Nathan, start us off with rows 9 through 11.
All righty, row 11. We have Jim Rathman, who won in 1960, holding off Roger Ward, and one of what's considered one of the best duels in the race's history. You have Bobby Rahal, a longtime fan favorite, won in 86. Finished third in his last two Indy 500s in 94, 95, really impressive. Mark Donohue won Roger Penske's first Indy 500 in 72. Row 10, Billy Arnold won in 1930, leading 198 consecutive laps. Emerson Fittipaldi, of course, the two-time winner in 89 and 93.
A little low here in row 10, if you ask me.
Yeah, I could agree with that. And then Bill Holland, who won in 49 and finished second in 47, 48, and 1950. Row 9, we have Tommy Milton, the first two-time winner of the race in 1921 and 1923. Danny Sullivan, the man of the famous spin and win in 1985, that great duel with Mario Andretti, and Ray Haroon, of course, the first Indy 500 winner who drove the Marmon Wasp in 1911.
Nice. I actually have a picture of Ray Haroon in my house. It was one of the first IndyStar photos that I can remember getting my hands on from way back when, so 1911. Great job there. All right, well, we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we will have Doug Boles, we will have Tony Kanaan, we'll have plenty of more on this special edition of IndyStar Pit Pass Live. Welcome back to IndyStar's Pit Pass Live. Right now we're going to take you to Speedway, Main Street Speedway, and what normally is a huge weekend, huge month for that area of town with the restaurants and the redevelopment they've done in that area over the past 10 years has been fantastic. So Michael McEldowney, one of our visual journalists, went to Main Street Speedway to see what it looks like this month.
Well, it's a huge hit for everyone. You know, it's kind of our Super Bowl.
Okay, we'll have these ready for you in about 20 minutes.
You know, everybody gets excited for May. We've been here for 15 years, and you know, and then it doesn't happen, it's huge. It affects our business, it affects our servers, it affects our customers, it affects everything in Speedway.
When do you guys get open back up?
We're hoping the 22nd. It was the 18th, but then
and then for us not to be able to open on the 18th was a real kind of a gut shot too, because we started preparing thinking that we're going to be open on the 18th, and then got pushed back to the 22nd with further restrictions on outdoor dining only. So that's, you know, it's just compounding right now, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating for everyone, and you know, we just kind of have to deal with it as it comes.
We've been here for 3 years, right? But this is my first year taking over, and I was excited. It was like summertime race. Indy 500 is my big year, and look at this epidemic. It just, like small business, it got us good. It hurts bad. Month of May and race, that's what we expect every year. Okay, that's what keep us the place flowing. May is our biggest month or event of the year. Right now, since we have no May, so we struggle, you know what I'm saying? We're struggling bad.
You know, for anyone in Speedway, it's everything as far as business goes. And it's not just the money, although that's way up there. It's the people that we see year after year after year that keep coming back, and they become your friends. There's some now that we talk to when, you know, we text back and forth, and we've made lifelong friends through that. So that's been different. And the noise is so important, that rumble there, and you open it now and it's just heartbreaking to not hear that.
All right, $9 for the year. Thank you, baby.
To our customers, first off, when we reopened, they were fabulous. They were lined all the way up and down around the roundabout waiting to get in. It was overwhelming. It was phenomenal. It was emotional for me and David. You know, it was a big deal. So just the fact that they've just been fantastic to us, and they just keep coming and coming and coming. We had one guy come 3 times in one day, so I just got to keep you in business. So just thank you for that. More than there's no words to thank them enough.
You know, we'll get through it. You know, we'll keep our heads down and do what we can do, and save where we can save, and you know, support our customers. That's why we have the lights on here. Is they make us go, and but not having it in May is tough. It is tough.
To know all my customers, I really want to say thank you very much. You know what I'm saying, for keeping us open and for they doing their thing, their support. That means a lot. Like 100 times thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for that video. And here's hoping in August, when the Indy 500 does return, and the Brickyard the Brickyard in July, that those restaurants are all full and we're all past all this. Now we're going to talk to IMS President Doug Boles, usually the busiest man of the day. I don't think he sleeps at all on this day. He's going to be able to rest today a little bit, but I'm sure he's still looking fabulous in a nice suit that makes us all go to shame. Nathan, this is your conversation with IMS President Doug Boles.
All right, I'm joined now by Doug Boles, the president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Doug, thanks so much for joining us today. Certainly a very, very different month of May than we were expecting 6 months ago when Roger Penske was announced to be the new owner of the facility, and even 2 or 3 months ago. What has this month of so much change and adaptation been like for you and the folks over at IMS?
It's been, I think, just like everybody else in Indiana, it's just been a really odd spring as we start to lead into summer, and a lot of, most of our team's been working from home until the last few weeks, and a handful of us have been coming in and out of the facility. But for the most part, we've just been trying to stay healthy and keep moving. We've got a lot of construction projects that Roger announced earlier in the year that are back underway again, and we're completing a lot of those. And I guess the good news in the fact that we're not racing right now is we've gotten a little bit more time to do a few more things around the venue, just because we have the time right now. But it has really been an odd time, especially this weekend. I mean, this is a really, really strange weekend. Normally I'd be living out here. I end up not going home for 4 or 5 days, and it was really odd to wake up this morning and not be at the Speedway.
I know you guys have done a lot of work, your whole team around IMS these last several weeks, and probably even work that we didn't know leading up to this week and the last couple weeks, trying to make sure for fans and even for some drivers and teams that this may feel different, but that can still be something special, that fans can still be participating in things that are related to the speedway and watching and interacting with drivers and teams. I know you guys have the auction for the special packages that people can try to win here this weekend. What part of your guys' different May experience have you been most excited about helping put together?
Well, I think for me, well, the Gleaners food drive is pretty cool way to use the facility on a weekend when normally we'd have lots of people in here, and to get people in here and help folks out who need that help in this time of need. So pretty proud of that. Obviously, we're going to do some testing with the Department of Health here beginning next week on some COVID testing. So using the facility in ways that we're trying to give back to the community. I guess what I'm just really most proud of is just the way our fans are, and the way our fans have said, you know what, we may not be able to be at the Speedway, but we are going to try and embrace it. And just the conversations on social media, people, how special the Speedway is to them, and just thinking about some of the things that they would normally be doing. And the hashtag 500 at home has been a lot of fun to watch. So, I just think the whole team is trying to be resilient, but it's really the fan base that's been so resilient. And every day, it's that fan base, I think, that energizes all of us here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It says, okay, we're going to get this thing in August, and we've got a fan base that can't wait, and they seem to be right there alongside us as we try and get ready.
Mm-hmm. You've experienced a lot of 500s as the president of IMS. I know there were ones before that where you were part of the whole weekend as a co-owner of a team in the race. What was your first Indy 500 experience that you actually attended in person?
So my first race was in 1977. So this would have been my 44th race in a row, my 43rd year. It's kind of weird to think about that, through 5 decades, this Memorial Day Sunday was spent coming to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So 1977, the rule in my house was you had to be 10 years old. And so I turned 10 in September of 76. So that meant 77 was my first race. And so that was, I've been coming every year since. I was a huge AJ Foyt fan as a kid growing up. So to get to see him win his 4th was a pretty special moment. And certainly every day I come to work, really, I think about that morning in 1977, getting up early with my dad, hopping in our station wagon and driving to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and parking and walking through gate 1 with my dad and thinking it was maybe the most magical moment in my life. And I think about that every day, just the cool traditions and the family connections that this place has given me and so many others. And that's part of the reason it's so special, not just the race, but the memories and the friendships and the family connections that you have through those experiences on Memorial Day Sunday.
I know putting a traditional Indianapolis 500 together has got to be nearly, if not entirely, a year-round project. When you in particular get to that day, is it still a stressful, really high energy experience for you? Are you actually able to, at that point, almost kind of enjoy it because it's all finally come together and it's right there? So it's something that I know you enjoy just as a person a lot.
Well, I think race day really for most of us here at the Speedway, it's a combination of all that. There's the stress a lot that goes along with hosting 300,000 plus people in the venue, just all of the things going on, and then juggling the little problems that come up every race day, no matter how hard you work. But I think for the most part, it is a day that even staff enjoy that stress and enjoy being around. There is preparation all year round. So when you get to the point that you're opening the gates on race morning, you've got a game plan in place. Everybody kind of knows what their job is. So there is some comfort in that. So you're able to from the moment the gates open, it's almost a little bit easier than every other day because you're just in execution mode. But really, we're in that mode where people are here. We're getting ready to have the race. Those are good days. So even with the stress and even with the fact that I probably only see 10 laps of the race every year by the time I watch right at the very beginning, and then I'm pretty much back off doing my thing, it's still the greatest day of the year, and it's probably the easiest day of the year with respect to the work that we've got.
Again, thank you to IMS President Doug Boles for taking the time, giving us the time to go over that. Much appreciated. All right, so now It's Tony Kanaan, one of the most popular drivers in IndyCar history. Nathan, Tony said he's going to be doing something a little different today.
Yeah, along with watching the NBC broadcast, also going to be watching his 2013 Indy 500 victory with his family, which includes his 4-year-old son, Max, who had never watched this race before, had seen the Borg Warner in the family living room, but not gotten a chance to watch this race. So now we go to Tony Kanaan to hear about how he's dealing with dismay. All right, now we have Tony Kanaan, the AJ Foyt racing driver. Tony, thanks so much for joining us. I imagine as someone who's been around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway so many times during the month of May, oftentimes kind of making this home inside that speedway track, this whole month not being able to be around there and competing there, qualifying and getting ready for a race that would have been this weekend has to have been pretty tough and pretty weird, maybe even for a veteran driver like yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit different, but to be honest, we're plenty busy, right? We're trying to follow the rules. I mean, with 4 kids at home, there's not a day here that we're not busy. And to be honest, I try not to get into this sad May because, first of all, I mean, it's hard times for everybody, right? We have much bigger problems than just not running the Indy 500. I think the whole country, it's extremely concerned about the COVID-19. But second of all, we are racing. We are racing in August. So August is going to become our May. So to be honest, when you get in the Indy 500 mode during that month, you don't even know what day of the week is, what day of the month is. I mean, you guys, we're there. We're emerging into the racetrack. So knowing that that's going to happen in 2 months from now or 2.5 months from now, it didn't really make me really sad. Like today, I actually drove to the shop and bought the guys dinner. They're prepping the cars for Texas. And at the shop, as if people don't know, AJ Foyt is right across the street at the Speedway. I drove by the Speedway. I had a little feeling saying, man, this is carb day. This place was going to be packed today. But then 2 seconds after that, I go, well, it's going to be a carb day. It's going to be August 21st, and then we're going to go on. So I think it would have been a lot harder if he had told me, we cancel it, we're not going to have it, we're going to have it next year. So having the race 2.5 months from now, I think easy up that pain.
I imagine kind of along those lines, like you mentioned, right when we heard back in late March that the date was not only going to be, the race was not going to be held on May 24th, we did have that new date immediately. And I imagine that fluidity of that whole process when there was so uncertainty about what the 2020 IndyCar season was going to look like had to have helped in some way for a driver like yourself.
No, for sure, especially that I'm doing a partial season this year, only doing the ovals. Somehow I was more prepared, I would say, than the other guys because they were all in St. Pete. They're all ready to go. I knew I was not going to. My first race actually was going to be the Indy 500. So I was mentally more prepared, I would say, because my season was not going to start until later. Being ahead of the Drivers Association, I'm always in really good communications with Mark Miles and Jay Fry, so to inform the other drivers what's going on. So I get the upper hand sometimes in some of the ideas. So as soon as the concern came up and IndyCar was really, I mean, Roger with all his team was extremely proactive about it. And they set a new date. I mean, one thing that I got guaranteed for sure in the first conversation was we will have an Indy 500 this year. Doesn't matter if it's now, in 2 months, in 3 months, in November, until we're going to have it. So that made it a lot easier, because it wasn't, like I said, it was bad news, but not as bad as saying we're done for this year. That's it. I mean, we're not doing anything. So, and you can see how hard IndyCar is trying. We're being still, because there are so many uncertainties. There are so many rules in different states that we can't really control. We still have to adjust. I mean, we just announced a couple cancellations, but I think IndyCar found this happy place that we're going to keep it 14 races, regardless where we're going to go. And we're just going to have to adapt. One thing is for certain, we're racing the 500. And one thing is for certain, we're not doing a double header in the Indy 500. It's only going to be one.
All right, well, thank you, Tony, as always. I'm hoping his son Max gets to dump the milk on him after he rewatches that 2013 Indy 500 win of his. All right, we're going to take our last commercial break. When we return, we will reveal more of the IndyStar dream field of the 33 drivers and also talk with Conor Daly and AJ Foyt. Welcome back to IndyStar's Pit Pass Live Special Edition. I am Mac Linesk. He is Motorsports Insider Nathan Brown. Again, if you want full versions of the videos we've been showing, of the interviews we've been showing, go to IndyStar.com. We will also have great photo images of what the track looks like today. Photojournalist Grace Hollers is inside the Speedway today, so look at IndyStar.com later for those images to appear. All right, now we are moving on to everyone, when you go to the track, not everyone parks inside. A lot of people park outside the track on people's lawns. Well, this May, what usually is big business for those people on those lawns, not so much. So here is photojournalist Bob Scheer on outside the Speedway.
It's surreal. This should have been Fast Friday at the Speedway. It would have been a parking day because the track would have been pretty busy. It's different. The only, I guess, silver lining is I was able to plant grass this spring. It's not something you're able ever to do in May because cars will tear it up.
It's a little disorienting because right now there would be cars on the track, but there is not. But we were just discussing this. It's been a kind of a bad weather week all week anyway, so we kind of don't miss that. But it's strange because in our lifetimes there's never not been an Indianapolis 500 in May. In May.
I bought the house 3 years ago. The neighborhood kind of sets the price. So we kind of all get together and talk about what everybody's going to charge for the weekend and what we're doing. I was instructed when I moved in how it went. They kind of came and introduced themselves to me and let me know how things go. You know, you can go farther away and find different prices, but being in a premium spot like this, it's kind of supply and demand. Somewhere in the $40 to $50 range, depending on the size of your vehicle. And
generally what I make off of this goes back into the expenses of the month of May, like race ticket renewals and credentials and things that the month of May costs. You know, it offsets that.
Race day's second Christmas around here, so to not have the festivities and the livelihood, it does feel empty. There was a car on track on Wednesday. I don't know what it was, but you could see just the sound alone brought people out of the house and kind of just woke up the neighborhood. So it feels kind of sleepy.
Thanks, Bob, for that report and video. All right, right now, Nathan is going to reveal rows 6 through 8 of IndyStar's Indy 500 Dream Field, voted by you. Just want to let you know we didn't pick these because when you see some of these results, you're going to get angry because I got angry. Nathan, take it away.
All right, we've got row 8 highlighted by Tom Sneva, the 1983 winner. Also finished second 3 times. Also on that row, Ralph De Palma, the 1915 winner, 2 poles to his name and led at least 70 laps 5 times. Total of 612 led laps, not matched until Al Unser got it in 1987. Maury Rose, the 3-time winner, in 1941, 1947, and 1948.
3-time winner in row 8.
Yes. Row 7 is where things get really interesting. You got Gordon Johncock, 2-time winner in 1973 and 1982. That great race toward the end there with Rick Mears holding him off in the final couple laps. Parnelli Jones won in 1963, only once, 2 straight poles though in 62 and 63. And then you've got Johnny Rutherford, the 3-time winner, 74, 76, and 1980. Won his first race in his 11th appearance and started all the way back in 25th. Row 6, Al Unser Jr., 2-time winner in 1992 and 1994. helped the Unser family become the first two-generation winners, and of course won that 94 race with Team Penske's Beast engine that they surprised the entire field with. We got Scott Dixon, 2008 winner, the active leader in laps led with over 450. Has also finished second twice, and then we capped that off with Arie Luyendyk, the two-time winner in 1990 and 1997, who also has had 3 poles.
Yeah, definitely think row 7 there. The voters, Parnelli needs more family, and Johnny Rutherford needs more family to vote for this. Hey, it
that
is what
row,
it is.
that row right there.
That could be row 3. That could be row 2.
Yeah. You'll see, as we keep going, some big names, some 2-time winners, some 3-time winners continue to fall a little bit lower than you would imagine, but we've had some really great legends run this race.
Again, your fault, not ours. Okay, your fault. All right, now we are moving on. Hey, guess what? We have another conversation, another video interview, and this is with Conor Daly, who has raced. He's been in 6 Indy 500s. He had his best finish last year for Andretti Autosport, finishing 10th. So here's Conor Daly, who also does a podcast with Nathan. So never shy, Conor Daly.
All right, we are here with Ed Carpenter Racing and Carlin Racing driver and my partner on IndyCar Weekly, Conor Daly. Conor, I imagine as someone has spent so much of their life going to the track at IMS so much during the month of May, even though we do have the prospect of getting ready to race here soon at Texas on the calendar, this May, these last couple weeks probably has to have felt a little bit odd for you. What's this been like?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, but it's also okay because no one else is doing anything. So, it's not like, we're the only ones missing out. There's no football, there's no basketball, there's no NASCAR until recently, obviously. But it's weird. I mean, Ed and I, my boss, we were talking about it the other day. It's like, wow, this is Fast Friday. We were working out together on Fast Friday, and I got a lot of fans and people, sending me, photographs and stuff from last year because we were quickest on Fast Friday, and it was such a huge day for us, and it was so fun. And seeing all those memories is just weird because it's just not normal. Even for Ed, I said, dude, for the last 30 years, like for you or for whatever, for the last 28 years for me, we've not been anywhere else other than at the track during the month of May. And, everyone was like, oh, well, the weather would have been bad. And I was like, I don't know, it rained a little bit. And, then it was sunny for other days. It was so typical month of May. So, so yeah, it's been weird, but yeah, just trying to get through it. And now, honestly, the time seems sort of like it's flying by. And now, we're already almost in June.
Yeah. Do you have, I mean, I imagine the races that you run there have to rank pretty high, particularly last year, finishing in the top 10. What are some of your favorite memories that surround being at the track, whether it's during your pro racing career or just as a kid, being really close to all the action when you digest the more than 24 Mays that you've spent around there?
Honestly, one of the coolest memories that I have, from growing up is when Doug Boles, obviously being my stepdad, when my mom and him first got together, he was obviously with Panther Racing, and I'll never forget as a young lad, a young aspiring racer. Thomas Schechter, we went into Thomas Schechter's motorhome, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. And, we got to play, I think it was like Forza Motorsport 1 at the time or something, maybe Forza 2, no, probably just Forza 1. And we played Xbox together and in his motorhome, and cause it was a rain day or something like that. It was raining and stuff like that. The drivers were my heroes, anyone at Indy, anyone trying to qualify, I always found it. I was always a fan of the underdogs. I cheered for the Bengals growing up, right? I was a Colts fan, but the Colts were great. And the Colts were, we had Peyton Manning when I was growing up as well. So, that was awesome. But I loved seeing the efforts, the cars that didn't have sponsors and then had sponsors, by the time we got to the race, and the cars that were trying to qualify and who needed speed. I spent so many days and hours just watching every lap time come up. I was sitting on the front straight, and every time there'd be a car number and the lap time, and I'd be like, I couldn't wait to see. I was like, who was going to go faster or what was happening. And so, that it's just so burned into my brain, and that's just what I enjoy so much about being a part of it now. I can't, my goal is to just continue to create memories there every day. I mean, I want to try and take advantage of every single day that I'm there. I know drivers have a certain, lifetime, and, just want to try and take advantage of it while we can.
I know last week you guys at Ed Carpenter Racing had a chance to finally unveil your number 47 car for this year's Indy 500 for August 23rd. Lots always been talked about the liveries that you guys with your Air Force partnership are going to come out with. Been really exciting these last couple of years to get a chance to see what those are going to look like. This year, a tribute with the orange car to Air Force's history with Chuck Shager. What are you most excited about when you're finally able to get into that car the first couple weeks of August to be able to make that tribute and share some of those memories with Air Force and Ed Carpenter Racing?
Well, I think for sure, once again, the Air Force did a great job on making sure that the car means something. Our cars have always done a great job, I think, honoring the history of the fighter jet and what we've got going on there. And now I think another incredible iconic moment is being remembered, which is really cool. And it's just, and you'll be able to see it, that's for sure. And I think a lot of people, a lot more people than I actually expected were really, really pumped about it. And it's not anything crazy. It obviously doesn't have a shark mouth on it or anything like that, but because of what it signifies, and because of, I think sometimes simple can actually go a long way. And the orange with the with the U.S. Air Force logo in the colors, the red, white, and blue colors, I think is really, really cool. So it'll look good. It's a number again that I have not run before, but it's something that'll be new for me, and something that obviously indicates the year the Air Force was born, which is really, really cool. And yeah, I mean, again, it's too far ahead for me to even think about, because I'm so focused on just getting going. And it's almost very similar to how the month of May normally is. We just want to get going at St. Pete. We want to get going at Barber. We want to just get the season rolling and get into things. And you get so much of a better idea of how May will go or how August will go once you actually get things rolling. You start getting chemistry with your team. So it'll be nice to kind of get that going here earlier, rather than just showing up for the month of May and knowing that we have a cool car. Now we know that we have a cool car, but we'll also be pretty prepared, which is nice.
Again, and for the full version of that video, go to IndyStar.com. And again, Nathan and Conor, they do a podcast during the IndyCar season that you don't want to miss if you're an IndyCar fan. Always a lot of laughs. Great insight as well from Conor. I know I've listened to it a few times and learned not a few times, but every time I listen to it, I learn about things that are happening. And Conor has a great perspective, especially when he's talking about things that happen in the back of the pack sometimes that you're not really watching as a race fan. You're watching the front of the pack, and he's just had some great stuff. He did it with Jim Aiello last year, doing it with Nathan again this year. So some great insight into IndyCar and into motorsports. So thank you, Conor, again for taking the time. And right now we are going to go back to the IndyStar Indy 500 Dream Field. What do we got? Rows 3 through 5 right now, Nathan?
Yep, we do.
Okay, so these are some big hitters. So take it away.
All right, we got Lewis Meyer, the first three-time winner of the field, winner in 28, 33, and 36. Also famously the first person as the Indy 500 winner to drink milk, get the Borg Warner, and also receive the pace car, all in 1936, his last win. We've got three-time winner Dario Franchitti. The most recent three-time winner finished off that in 2012, and then you've got Roger Ward, the two-time winner in 1959 and 1962. 4 straight years finished on the podium there in that stretch, bookmarked by his 2 wins. Row 4, Dan Weldon, the great late Dan Weldon, finished in first place 2005 and 2011, and was chomping at the bit to get that win, that last win there. Finished second the 2 years in a row before that win in 2011. Would go on later that year to lose his life in a crash in the race in Las Vegas. Tony Kanaan, one of his great friends, finally won that race in 2013, beating Ryan Hunter-Reay on a restart with just 3 laps to go. and then, of course, Bobby Unser, another one of the famous members of the Unser racing family, 3-time winner in 1968, 1975, and 1981. Row 3, we have Helio Castroneves, who won the race the first 2 years he was there in 2001, 2002, finished off his 3rd victory in 2009, been a pole winner 4 times, and is getting ready to drive his 20th Indy 500, hopefully, later on this August. He's also been runner-up 3 times, most recently just a couple years ago. Jim Clark, who won the race in 1965, was the first foreign winner of the race since Gaston Chevrolet in 1920.
And he is of the Chevrolet family, Gaston Chevrolet.
That is right. That is right. Only ran the race 5 times, but also finished 2nd place twice, along with his victory. And then we have Wilbur Shaw, the 3-time winner in 1937, 1939, and 1940. Also finished runner-up 3 more times along with his victories, and he was the first driver of the race in its near 30-year history to go back-to-back in 1939 and 1940.
A lot of international flair in those rows right there. You got England, Brazil, England again, Brazil again, Scotland for Dario Franchitti, and then a couple Americans. Yep. All right. So there will be racing at IMS in July 4th. At least that's the plan. The Brickyard, followed by actually it's going to be the IndyCar race on Saturday, the Brickyard on Sunday.
Correct. And we've also got the Xfinity race there in the middle. The Pennzoil 150 will also run on Saturday along with the GMR Grand Prix.
Okay, and that should always run at Lucas Oil Raceway, if you're asking me, but you're not. All right, but so there will be racing in July, but August schedule has obviously flipped on its head with the 500 moving into August. So now, Nathan, walk us through what that schedule will look like, what the Indy 500 might look like come August.
Yes, so everything starts following the race at Mid-Ohio on August 9th. What the folks at IMS, Roger Penske, Mark Miles, Doug Boles, really tried to do on this initial move of the race from May to August was to try and make it feel as similar to what the race and the festivities and all the celebrations would be like in May as possible. So you've got start with practices just a couple days later after that Mid-Ohio race. We would still have that 2-day qualifications period the weekend before the race, the 15th and the 16th. And then you'd still have your traditional carb day on the Friday before. We'd hopefully have the parade on Saturday. Everything that fans have grown to know and love. The question, of course, now is, will fans be able to attend this race? And that's something that we don't expect to learn probably for another month and a half, maybe even.
I think that's, so the governor here in Indiana says the all clear in the reopen stage is July 4th. That obviously coincides with what the racing action that's going to happen at IMS. You're right, we just don't know. But we've seen some, the track can hold 300,000 people with between the infield and the stands. It would be interesting to see what they do if they, they're going to have to, you're not going to get 300,000 people. They're not going to open it up and just say, maybe they will by August, who knows. But I don't think that's going to happen. No one cares what I think, but I just don't think that's going to happen. So I think you have a limited, you sell limited for spectators. You can spread people out, social distancing. I just think that'll be interesting because how do you do that? Because there are 300,000 people who want to go to this race. I'm sure there will be some sort of lottery. They'll probably give preference to people who go every year, who have season tickets, that kind of stuff. But you're probably not going to be sitting in the seat that you normally sit in every year. So there's going to be a lot of change for the Indy 500. So we'll be really interested to see what happens come August. We're all rooting for the best. We hope for the best.
Yep, absolutely. You've got some fans that have sat in the same seats for 40, 50, maybe even 60 years straight. So I'm sure some of those fans who have been there for so long would just love to get through the gates and into the stands. But they will definitely have to figure out how they're going to run this. I know from talking to Doug Boles weeks ago, he said that the ticket purchases at the IMS ticket office, both for that Brickyard GMR Grand Prix weekend and the Indy 500, has slowed to a very, very slow trickle now. You've got only a couple dozen ticket orders coming in April and May when they are normally just flooded with requests. So how they will figure that out, if they do some sort of a lottery system with the folks that have already bought tickets, that's certainly a possibility, but a lot still to be determined.
There might be one silver lining, though. I will bet you the race isn't blacked out.
That's a good point.
For a local blackout.
I have asked Doug Boles that question. He said that is one of the many things that they haven't addressed yet, have not focused on. A lot of the focus right now at IMS is really just trying to figure out what they're going to be able to do with this July 4th weekend. It could potentially be the first major sporting event, or at least major American racing event that holds fans this year through those 3 races over those 2 days. So I know right now they've been holding some mock entries to the track to try to figure out exactly what protocols they would be able to have that are good with the state, good with the local regulators, if that is an opportunity. So a lot of the focus is on that July 4th weekend. They have not addressed many of those things that fans would want to know, including that blackout. But I would imagine if you can't admit every single person in that wants to go, like we've had only once or twice before, they would probably lift that.
Yeah, no, I'm putting hard money on it. If it's in the DraftKings app, I'm throwing cash on it. All right, now our final interview of the show, it's kind of saving the best for last almost, because this is AJ Foyt, and a conversation with AJ Foyt is just a wonderful thing. This man has cheated death I don't know how many times. If bees aren't chasing him, if whatever is going on in AJ's life, it always seems he happens to be in the headlines, and he's just a great conversation. So here is Nathan's conversation with AJ Foyt.
Well, hey, I really, really appreciate you taking some time to chat today about just kind of what this weird week is like, I imagine, for someone who's been around the Indianapolis 500 for so long.
Well, that's quite true. You know, like Indianapolis is really my second home. I spend more time in Indianapolis than I have in Texas, to be truthful with you. You know, this year here would be 65 years straight. I went up there in 1955 and sit in turn 2, in 1956 sit in turn 2. And then I went up there as a rookie in 58, and, you know, I was up there in 57 running midgets and all that. I got picked up, but, no, it's like my second home, to be honest with you. I've got a lot of great fans there and a lot of great friends there, and I really enjoy Indianapolis.
I can imagine. Those 50 or more years now that you've been used to spending, you know, just about every waking moment in May in the city of Indianapolis, whether it's on the track, in the trailer, strategizing, watching, or driving. What have these last couple weeks been like for you to be back at home and not be at your second home, as you said?
Well, to be honest with you, I went to Del Rio, one of my ranches out there, and I spent 36 days with a couple of my mechanics, and we rode bulldozers and did a lot of clearing because we got a big ranch out there, and kind of had fun. But the last 3 weeks I've been back in Houston, and with all the restaurants and everything closed, it's boring as hell. I'll be honest with you. I started just to fly to Indianapolis in my plane just to be there on Memorial Day, but I guess I'm gonna have to wait till they race there. But I definitely will be back there unless I'm 6 feet underground.
Yeah. What do you imagine having the Indy 500 in August, which obviously is the plan at the moment? What do you imagine that being like for you? Do you think it will feel just like another Indy 500, or do you imagine that to still feel different just because it's not in that May window that we've gotten so used to?
Well, to be truthful with you, it's going to be only in the different. I know it's going to be hotter now because I've been up there in August. You know, It ain't going to be like Indianapolis, but it is going to be different, and I don't know until I'm there, but it's still going to be the great Indianapolis 500-mile race. And it's hard to believe it's not going to be there in May. And I'm hoping all this stuff is straightened out, so if I'm still around next year, it will be in May again. But like I said, still be the greatest 500-mile race in the world. That's what people know me is from Indianapolis. I've won, you know, a lot of 500-mile races, but nobody knows about them. They know me from there. And like I've always said, Indianapolis is what made AJ Foyt. AJ Foyt did not make Indianapolis like a lot of the drivers win it. They think they made Indianapolis. Well, I got news for them. I've won a lot of races all over the world, but still, they know AJ Foyt from the Indianapolis 500. That's the way I look at it right now, and that's the way I look at it until I die.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You had that obviously incredible stretch between the early 60s to 77, going and winning your, tied now for the record 4 Indianapolis 500 titles. Is any one of those more special than the rest, whether it was the first or last or any of the two in between?
Well, one of the greatest things that happened in my life, I always dreamed. I used to listen to the Indianapolis 500 when I was a kid. I worked with my daddy at his shop. And come Memorial Day, we always listened to it. And I always had a dream, would I ever be good enough to go up there? And I know that my first year and made the race, that was a dream come true. And then I guess the biggest thing would be in 1977. It's our own motor that we built here. It's our own car that we built. I drove it. And I think one of the biggest thrills I had that Mr. Hullman rode around in 1977 on a pace lap with me after the race. And, because he kind of gave me a place to live when I first went back there. We were great, great friends. And for him to ride around like that with me, the picture of me and him sitting on the back, what else could you ask for? I was so thrilled to death that he was able to do that. And I couldn't ask for a better life that happened right then, And like I said, and be the first man to win it 4 times. Anytime you're the first of doing anything, it's a great, big honor and a lot of fun. But then have all this stuff really come true in your lifetime, where I started with nothing. Mm-hmm. And not that I got that much now. I got a little bit. Back then, I slept in the back seat of my car a lot until Mr. Holman and them kind of got me a place over Terre Haute to stay. So, like I say, what else could you ask for?
All right. Thank you, AJ Foyt, for taking the time. Again, we want to thank everyone who took the time to record interviews with Nathan for our show. That's Simon Pagenaud, Roger Penske, Doug Boles, Tony Kanaan, Conor Daly, and again, AJ Foyt. If you want to watch those videos in their entirety, go to IndyStar.com for the full interviews. We are going to finish the show with the last 2 rows of our Dream Indy 500 field. And again, get your copy of the IndyStar print. We've got a full poster page of that dream field. And Nathan, why don't you take it away, the final 2 rows.
All right, row 2. Bill Vukovich, 2-time winner in 1953 and 1954. Unfortunately, died in a crash the following year, 1955. Actually had a lead of the race. We're more than a quarter of the way through, a 17-second lead. Got caught up in a big accident and ended up losing his life there. Potentially could have been the first 3 consecutive time winner of the Indy 500, and the only person who would have ever have done that to date. You have Al Unser, the first 4-time winner that we have come to so far, wins in 1970, 1971, 1978, and then is 4th in 1987. Remarkably, has 7 other 2nd or 3rd place finishes. Just a remarkable.
644 laps led at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Just staggering.
Yep, really unbelievable career there. And then we also have Mario Andretti, the winner of the race in 1969. Originally believed to have been the winner also of 81 before Bobby Unser's protest ended up going through several months later, taking that win away from Mario Andretti. Also has so many close calls there at IMS, whether they be mechanical failures or just races that he was really, really back and forth in down to the wire.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the icons of motorsports racing, still the only one Indy 500 win. So what do you think about row 2? Do you think they got it right? Bill Vukovich is one of those names that gearheads, they say, is one of the best drivers of all time. A lot of people just don't know that name because, again, he died in 1955 in a race and won in 53, 54. So just one of those names that racing fans now just might not be aware of. But what can you tell us a little bit about Bill and how dominant he was during that stretch?
Yeah, I mean, really happy to see it. You know, when we open something up like this to fans, you wonder, you know, folks who are only 20, 30, even maybe 40 years old that maybe might not know so much about Bill. But if he had survived that accident, maybe not even had it at all, could have truly had one of the best, if not already had one of the best, could have had potentially the best career at IMS. You can only wonder how many times he could have possibly won that race. Certainly could have been 3 in a row, maybe more. Al Unser, obviously one of the 4-time winners of this race. Thought he might end up there on row 1, but you know, as an 11-time podium finisher, but we've got a lot of really, really great drivers and a couple other big names and one surprise, obviously, still here to talk to, and then Mario. As you said, only won once, but truly a legend of the sport. So we'll go to row one now. Our pole sitter, our leading vote getter, AJ Foyt, won his first race in 1961. Really dominated that series in the 60s, 61, 64, 67, also won in 1977.
What was he doing for 10 years?
Yeah, I know.
Between 67 and 77.
So he continued running in the race until 1992. He finished 9th in the race at 57 years old. Really a remarkable career for AJ.
He is IndyCar.
Yep.
Like if you say who is IndyCar, who's the face of IndyCar, it's AJ Foyt right
now. His team then of course won in '99 with Kenny Brack. They've had some tough goes of it here and there at the race recently, but still some strong names in that team. You've got Charlie Kimball, you've got Tony Kanaan, their drivers. So would love to see AJ back on the podium, or even as a race winner, as a team owner potentially here a couple of years down the road. You've got Rick Mears, the other 4-time winner, dominated late 70s, 80s, and even into 91. Won in 79, 84, 88, and 1991. Holds the record for 6 pole wins in his Indy 500 career. Also finished on the podium 3 other times.
And then the surprise, then the shocker. Not that he's not a very talented driver, but row one, I don't think so.
Yeah, Juan Pablo Montoya won his first race there in 2000, and then left for Formula One and NASCAR. Came back in 2014. Won the race in 2015. His only run in 5 Indy 500s, but 2 victories. A very short career here in IMS, but certainly a very, very strong one. Maybe not someone people would have expected to see in row one there, but certainly a strong career.
I say I want to recount.
So there you have it. That's our dream field. Really, really strong group. Certainly hard to limit it just to 33 drivers from all of the folks that have really made their names here at the Indy 500. When I spoke to AJ Foyt a couple days ago, he said, I didn't make the Indy 500. The Indy 500 made AJ Foyt, and AJ Foyt is a name that people know nowadays because of the 500-mile races that he won at IMS.
Yeah, definitely. And again, there are some current drivers in this field, so maybe we see what happens in August. Maybe if we redo the voting next year, we'll see someone, maybe Elio or maybe Tony. Maybe Elio gets number 4, maybe Tony gets number 2.
Could get Scott Dixon getting his second win. Only won back in 2008, but has had a particularly strong career, leads the group of active drivers in laps led, so certainly could be another contender here in 2020.
Or an Andretti wins. Wouldn't that be a heck of a story?
Certainly possible.
Who knows? All right, well, we definitely appreciate you taking the time on this really weird Sunday for Memorial Day weekend. Not what we had in plan, or not what anyone planned, but here we are. He is Nathan Brown, Motorsports Insider for IndyStar. I am Mac Lenesk. Thank you again for joining us for a very special edition of Pit Pass Live. Everyone stay safe and enjoy the rest of the weekend.